Well, it's a point of emphasis of obviously trying to allow the skillful players to be skillful and to take away the edgy tackles or whatever you want to call them. But when you get into a new area like that, then that final judgment, that decision making, the referees, the players, everybody's trying to come to grips with it.
Do you think overall that it is sort of a good thing for the league to sort of try to protect its playmakers a little bit more, and do you think that they're finding the right balance right now?
Yeah, I think over the long run it is. Are they finding the right balance right now? Probably not. But it takes a while. It takes a while to find that balance. But eventually, things change. Things become different. I mean, certainly, when you look back over years and years, the game was much slower. It's a much tougher game to referee now because the game's much faster. The old days, the game was much slower, and also the game was more physical, and tackles like that were considered sometimes good things. And slowly but surely, it got ruled out. Corner kicks, people still grab each other, but because they've really put an emphasis on that, in world soccer over the years, it's not like it was 20 years ago. I mean, people would they would grab a lot more things than your waist, okay? And, all of that, has come out because people realize if I do that, it's going to get called. But that learning curve takes time, and that learning curve is not going to happen in a month.
How did you guys find Oalex Anderson, and what was the background on that connection between him and Ezra and how he kind of came to your team?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously Ezra had heard about Oalex and knew of Oalex. Even Myron Samuel is with us too. We had Myron in already a couple of years ago, and then he got hurt and he went back, and now he's here again. But Oalex was something through Ezra. We brought him in. We looked at him. We felt there's some talent there. He's a young player, and gave him the opportunity last year with us too. But it's really Ezra was the main guy in terms of finding him.
How do you handle a play where he made that big break for it, crazy run, and then kind of maybe should have passed it at the end? How do you handle a young guy who makes that?
You got to understand Oalex. I mean, I guess the best term is he's wonderfully unpredictable. Okay, he's got pace, he's got all this thing, he's got a little bit of magic, pulls off a play, the little 1-2 that he pulled off to get through on that play was fantastic. But then he's also a young player, and sometimes you're not sure what's gonna go on. He'll learn. It's a big difference playing in front of 2,000 people and then playing all of a sudden in front of 40. But he'll learn and he'll mature. He'll make better decisions as he moves forward.
You mentioned that he sort of has a knack for finding the game quickly off the bench, but do you see him as a potential MLS starter or a possible starting role for you guys ever?
I think we push guys on too quickly, forward and backwards sometimes. He's a player, I think, that's got immense potential. I mean, so what you look at in evaluating whether a guy's going to be a big contributor down the line or have a big career. I mean, obviously he has MLS speed. He's got quality speed. That's tough to hold on to. He's got good quickness. He's pretty clever with the ball. He's shifty with the ball. He knows how to get that step on people. So those are the things that he's good at, and those are MLS caliber. So now it's a matter of adding the other things. Consistent passing, positional play, defending at the right times. And those are the other things you're trying to add. But what you're looking for in a young player is you're looking for the fact, does he have something that in your mind is MLS caliber? Is it technical? Is it tactical sometimes? Is it physical? So you go from there.
In that moment of that game, why did you think he was the right move rather than, say, giving Hercules his debut?
Because we wanted to get more pace, wanted to get more pace on the outside. Hercules at this stage, I think, is more of a target forward, and we had already made that switch by bringing Morris in. We wanted Morris to play there, so Oalex was the right choice.
And if I could get just one more on the forwards, was Jordan strictly his non-start strictly the matter that you mentioned about the national team, or anything beyond that?
No, I want Jordan to find his game, enjoy his game, and I think there's been a lot of expectations that have been heaped upon him. Not least of which from you guys, and it's sometimes it's good to take a step back. Sometimes if the front door's locked, you take a step back and you look at the back door and you make your way in that way.
And you've touched on it before earlier this year, but with Ozzy, certainly another team of the week for him. And is it the formation change that you think is rejuvenated some of sort of his form, or is it something else?
No, I think Ozzy's come in this year with a very good attitude. I think he's been very compliant about doing the things that we were asking him to do this year. So as a result, I think his physical status is better. But in fairness, last year was the first time Ozzy had ever had surgery, and some players sometimes, that's a new experience, and they struggle with that. I remember years ago I had a player at UCLA. I mean, the guy, he'd always have little knocks and injuries and surgeries. Doctor would say, nah, he's out for 5 weeks. He'd be playing in 2 weeks. Because he just know how to deal with those things, and he recovered. So for Ozzy last year, surgery, emotional year with his father, coming back, and getting here from Cuba. I mean, there were a lot of things and distractions that way off the field. A young child at home. There's a lot of things. But this year, I think he's very settled. There's a lot of things that have fallen into place. Physically, he feels much stronger. He's doing what we need to do, and that makes it easier to play.
What'd you make of his partnership with Christian on the weekend? I know Christian's talked a lot about sort of emulating Ozzy's style, and do you think that they mesh well together?
I think the partnership was good. Obviously, Christian is still a young player developing as well. But I thought Christian and Ozzy together, along with Tyrone Mears and also coming back on the Kovar on that side, I thought they did a pretty good job of bottling up Piatti and Ship, where they never, they had some moments, but they never really ran wild like they did on other teams. And I think a lot of that was due to Roldan. That was something we asked him to do. So, but he's continuing to grow and develop, and it's important that they recognize that they're a partnership and that they can learn off of each other and help each other in the play. But he's growing as a player every game.
Sure. I know you had said y'all weren't judging S2 by wins and losses, but it's really been sort of an ugly start. I guess I'm wondering, is there a concern that there's sort of a hole in that spot of the team's assembly line?
No, not really, because I think it's been very difficult for Ezra because of the fact that they played 3 non-MLS S2 teams or USL teams. So you're dealing with guys. San Antonio, obviously, I think there were 6 or 7 former MLS players in their lineup, and not guys who have just had a cup of coffee in the league, but guys who've played 30, 40, 50 games in the league. So from that standpoint, it's a much more veteran team. Sacramento's the same way. Budget for those teams. Arizona is the same. They're trying to build a big franchise. So their budgets for their teams are significantly bigger than ours, and we've made a commitment to playing young players. And so you're looking at an academy kid, misjudging a ball. You're looking at a week before, academy kid losing a guy on a header. So those things happen. Also for his team, Jordan Schweitzer is an important player for that team, and he's been out injured. So, getting him back is going to help. There's a couple of signings. Myron hasn't been around except for that game, and he's banged up a little bit. Probably, if things were going differently, he might not have played in that particular game. So I think once all those guys factor back into the numbers and you get them onto the field, Nuhu hasn't been cleared yet with his ITC. So there's another guy. So all of a sudden you start looking around, there's probably 3-4 starters that haven't been able to play yet, and they've played a lot of veteran teams.
If I could just get one other thing, I had a reader wanted to know if I could get an update on Farfan and Sturgis right now. Just kind of their roles. I mean, is this what you expected, that they would just be available for when there were
injuries? Obviously Farfan has been disappointing because he's been injured. We think he's a good player, and what we really, we sort of stepped back and said, let's build him up over a longer period of time, because we felt that we threw him in maybe a little too early because of the injury he had last year at the end of the year with DC. So we're taking a longer build-up time for him, but he's a good player. Sturgis is doing what we expected him to do. He's a player. I didn't have him on the bench in the last game because I decided to go with 3 forwards on the bench, and I figured we could cover in midfield in a different manner because I wanted to have the choices to bring in up front. So, but he's a player who's right there on the 18. He's a veteran guy. He's a good passer. even though S2 lost on Sunday and he played with them just to keep fit and get 90 minutes, I thought him playing for them, they were so much better than they were Wednesday, even though they lost by a worse score per se, but their overall play was much better, and I think a lot of that was because of Nate.